Gray's like, but that's what I do. You get the James Gray business, and that's what you get.
That's cinema, baby.
No, Mr. Wilson. I don't have to take that kind of talk from anyone.
That's right, you don't. How about going outside and trying to kick me around?
I'm not supposed to fight with the guests, Mr. Wilson.
I'm not a guest tonight, you yellow bastard. I happen to be an intruder.
Hello and welcome to The Good, the Pod, and the Ugly, a film podcast where we take deep dives into the works of directors, actors, practical effects, what have you. We've done 15 seasons. We're on our 16th season, and we are covering the gigantic filmography of James Gray. We had the first pairing in our temporal pincer movement, his first and last film. Last week we did Armageddon Time. The week before that we did Little Odessa. This week we're going to a second film, The Yads. I am your host, Ken.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Ryan.
And we are joined by nobody.
Do you think Mark Walburg has Mark Walburg impersonators?
Like that he has people on payroll?
Oh, no, not like Saddam Hussein's like felt body doubles or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, more so like how Dolly Parton once lost a Dolly Parton lookalike contest. I'm just wondering if if there's like a Mark Walburg convention where people do different eras of Mark Walburg.
I think Mark Walburg is famous because he's the rare, handsome Boston palooka.
This is a film with the earliest film era of Mark Walburg, which we'll talk about a little bit, not the recent era of Mark Walburg, such as family comedies and Flight Risk.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about Flight Risk during our Christmas special whenever we covered Passion of the Christ, but if we didn't, we're not clear at this point. We're doing The Yards. It's a movie that came out in the year 2000, the same year as Memento, Requiem for a Dream, The Way of the Gun. Nope, yeah, appropriate. Dancer in the Dark. And Space Cowboys.
Which we will talk about a bit next week. The partial reunion film Ad Astra.
Yeah, but what's odd about this film is that it was shot in the spring and summer of 98.
Mm-hmm.
So because of studio delays and some reshoots, it wasn't released until the fall of 2000. Which means when we're talking about Walburg or Joaquin Phoenix in this film, we had to contextualize it because Joaquin Phoenix was cast for 8mm because originally it was going to be Nicolas Cage and Mark Walburg. Instead, when Schumacher came on, Walburg did not pursue the film, and so instead it was Phoenix who got cast in December 97. So they were shooting this in spring of 98 to then turn around and then have Joaquin go to the set of The Yards. So that's the era of Phoenix that we're in.
Even though the film itself came out the same year as Gladiator? Gladiator would be after he shot this, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, I mean, for Walburg, it's crazier because he had just done Boogie Nights, and that's how he got recommended to Gray, was that Pete Anderson was like, hey, you should look at this guy, not have any judgments, just go in and have him read. Originally, Gray wanted Walburg for the Phoenix role, and he won him over. But yeah, if you look at Walburg's filmography, he'd go on to shoot Three Kings after this, but it'd be released before this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons. One of my notes while watching this film was, Walburg looks young.
Yeah. A haircut, definitely also works to make him look even like a 7-year-old at times. We should have a trigger warning that we will be discussing Harvey Weinstein during the course of this episode.
True.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And the next couple, actually. I'm sorry, the next two films, I think, in the Gray filmography, though not because of the temporal pencil movement.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Ryan, will you explain the temporal pencil movement for those who might just be coming in for the first time?
Sure. So on this show, we look at directors or producers or actors' filmographies in total, if quantity allows. And we look at those films from the outside in. So we start with their first and last film, and then work our way into the middle of their career.
And we often find associations and connections that we might not have had we done them in a linear fashion. I think these two movies are a perfect example, particularly with some of the editing and reshoots.
Yeah. So the Blu-ray has no special features, but it does have the director's cut. It's what came out on Blu-ray. And so I'm going to be relying pretty heavily on my James Gray book, checked out through an interlibrary loan through the Multnomah County Library.
Shout out.
For some background on this. But just to get it out there, this is throughout this whole season, Ken and I had not seen a single Gray film.
That is correct.
This is always going to be our first time watching. How about for you, Ryan?
Before the series, I think I'd seen about half of his filmography.
Oh, including the yards?
Today? Including the yards, yeah.
Really?
Yes. This movie came out at the time when my roommate at the time was a projectionist at a local theater. So every Thursday night, he would cut together and test the new film reels back when film was on film. And then we'd go and crash the theater all night and screen the pictures to make sure that all the cuts were correct, that they were all stitched together properly before Friday opening. So this is a movie I saw under those conditions, probably at 2 a.m. on a Thursday night when I was a youngster.
And then again this week?
Yes, and then I watched it a few days ago.
And when we rewatched this, I watched the director's cut. We'll talk a little bit about the differences here in just a sec. But where were you able to watch it at? The director's or theatrical?
The Blu-ray that I got from Movie Madness had... Shout out. Had both the director's and theatrical cut. So I watched the theatrical cut as a comparison point to your experience watching the director.
And was that just on two different sides of the same disc?
No, it was a 2-disc set.
What?
Fancy.
Yeah.
This film had a release that had more than one disc.
Yes, I imagine the Blu-ray that I rented most likely was a reissue after Miramax closed.
I believe Soderbergh does co-commentary with Gray on that. Does he not?
I didn't even look into that, but that would be fascinating. I'd love to hear those guys talk.
I read a summary of what they talked about on that. And I saw this on Hoopla through my local library, and I did not know which cut it was, but I had a feeling at the end, which it was the theatrical cut. And then I went online to look at the differences, and indeed it was the theatrical cut.
Yeah, so my Blu-ray, I guess, came out in 2022, and it has no commentary. It just has the film. It doesn't even have subtitles.
Wow. So
I went on Hoopla after I heard that it was leaving shortly, at least through the Multnomah County Library access, and ended up watching the difference. And they have subtitles there. So
yes, that's what I watched with subtitles.
So it must be the opposite of what I said, Thomas, that bare bones Blu-ray must be the reissue, and the version I got must be the original issue, if it's got both cuts.
I'm confused. There are two cuts, though.
There are two cuts.
Okay, so
Thomas has seen both.
I've seen both, and I've read about both in my James Gray from Synecdoche Publishing, the French publisher, book. The director's cut omits something that the theatrical cut has. And so to listen to Gray in the interview, transcribed in the book, he said he didn't have final cut on this film. And a year later, they got Mark Walburg back, put him in a wig, and recorded the portion of the film, which you'll see between the funeral at the end, spoilers, and Mark Walburg riding on a train. So his testimony is all reshoots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
According to Gray, that ruined the film, and that was the reason it was booed at Caan.
Oh, really?
Caan. Okay. Also in this book, there's an interview with Mark Walburg. Walburg, at this time of the interview, had already started producing some films.
Mm-hmm.
And so Wahlberg's story is that he understands that as part of the reshoots, because one of the things that we're going to talk about in just a moment, whenever we talk about Matt Reeves, there were extensive reshoots to shift the focus to the Mark Walburg character. And as part of those negotiations, they had to reshoot the ending, which is what the theatrical cut was. So what that devil's bargain was the original script for this, co-written with Matt Reeves, who Gray knew through USC, where they graduated.
Matt Reeves, can you tell a little bit about some of his films that someone might know?
Well, I know The Batman because I went and watched that with Ryan here in my favorite theater. But prior to that, he had done 2 of the reboot Planet of the Apes movies. Not the one with Mark Wahlberg.
He did the best of the 4.
Of the reboots, yeah.
Yeah. And then he did the remake of Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
And I think he also did Cloverfield.
Cloverfield, yeah.
And so this is early in Matt's career, first name basis. And the original screenplay that they worked out together over lunches and I guess eating a bunch of junk food in Gray's apartment had 5 separate POVs for what happens during the yards, which we'll get into in just a moment with the plot. But when they were cutting the film together, according to Gray, he realized that it wasn't working and he needed a straightforward narrative. And so Gray went back to the studio and asked for the reshoots, which is, if you put the pieces together, when they decided they needed to reshoot the ending because of what test screenings were saying about the bummer of an ending.
Gray's like, but that's what I do. You get in the James Gray business and that's what you get.
But you also have 2 variables, right? It's a little bit like truing a bicycle wheel. Like if you're getting the feedback from the audience that from the cut that is the Rashomon cut, and then you also tack on a new ending, you've changed 2 big things.
Yeah.
And so, but Gray feels like his cut, which is the director's cut, which omits about a minute and a half of Mark Walburg testifying, which is a flashback, is a good movie that he wants. This is the movie that he wanted to make. I feel like I'm about to have a reaction, so maybe we should talk a little bit about plot. And I can fill in some other things, or I'm sorry, I feel bad being an American right now. Foreign listeners, like our I don't know, our Quebecois folks who watch Les Maîtres, who might be confused on some points. What are we even talking about?
The yards?
The yards is a very American title. So a yard is a unit of measure that is part of the imperial system of measures. It is the national standard of not 1, not 2, but 3 powerhouse countries of innovation. The United States, Myanmar, and Liberia. Although the last 2 are transitioning over to metric. The imperial system is noted for its ease of learning and conversion by those raised in its system without exposure to communistic metric systems born out of the French Revolution. The less we say about the metric system, the better.
Okay.
In God-fearing patriotic imperial system, 12 inches equals a foot, with 3 feet equaling a yard, and naturally, 1,760 yards equals a mile. So it's simple. Any grade schooler can make those conversions. Also, 16 ounces equals a pound, and 32 ounces equals a quart, which it's right there in the name. 4 quarts equals a gallon. Also, you shouldn't forget that 7 thumbnails equals a hand, 16 hands equals a horse, 5 horses equals a barn, 11 barns equals a moat, and 18 moats equals a bowling league.
What was this film called in France?
You know what? I have it for Ad Astra. I don't have it for this film. Let me look up.
Is it just Les Yards?
No, it's just called The Yards. They just kept the American title.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Mark Walburg plays Leo, who is just getting out of jail. Not unlike Tim Roth's character in James Gray's first film, Little Odessa. He is coming back. He's been in jail. And his mother, played by Ellen Burstyn, who would be in Requiem for a Dream the same year, but it was filmed after. Is that correct, Thomas?
Yep. Which is why I was like, man, she's looking young, but also got a lot of prosthetics on her for Requiem. I'm like, damn, she's looking pretty good.
And her sister is played by Faye Dunaway, and Faye Dunaway is married to a character played by James Caan. That is your trio of classic 70s actors. And then this new younger generation, you have Mark Walburg, you have Joaquin Phoenix playing his best friend who works for James Caan, and you have Mark Wahlberg's cousin, or the character Mark Walburg plays cousin, played by Charlize Theron.
Yeah, and a kind of a George Michael, maybe Fuke scenario, right?
I was good. You got to Arrested Development before I did.
Sorry.
They're all great. A great trio of older actors, a great trio of younger actors. The plot is Joaquin Phoenix is the guy for Caan who helps grease the skids for the subway repair and manufacture game in New York City. There's a lot of graft. Mark Walburg goes along one night. Joaquin Phoenix ends up stabbing a night watchman when they're going to damage the components that a competitor had made. Mark Walburg is confused. He's standing around going like, what's going on? While everybody else in the gang runs away. A cop comes down there, played by that guy who played the detective in Dexter.
Yeah.
And Mark Walburg beats him into a coma. He actually doesn't beat him into a coma. He starts rapping, and then the guy's eyes just glaze over, and he falls down. So Joaquin obviously is going to blame Mark Wahlberg's character for this, and it sets up this great noirish plot where Wahlberg's kind of in hiding because they think not only did he beat the cop, but he also killed the night watchman. There's a lot of ins and outs of the borough presidents and all the graft going on between all the contractors who want the work for the subways. It's a very messy scenario, and Caan plays somebody you kind of want to be a mob boss, but he's kind of not. And it's a bit of a gray area, no joke, with his character that I have some problems with. But from there, it's like a noirish plot that you keep expecting to get going. And Wahlberg keeps returning to his mom's place. For some reason, the cops aren't watching. And then we learn that he and Theron may have had something going on when they were younger. Joaquin Phoenix feels the noose tightening with all his machinations, trying to blame Wahlberg. And a competitor reaches out to Wahlberg. Anyway, it's a lot of ins and outs and what have you. And it ends with Theron dying, being knocked over the rail at James Caan and his mother's house.
At a moment that I actually laughed when it happened.
Wow.
Because I saw it coming, and I was like, there's no way. And then when it happens, and I was like, man, I just want this to become Death Becomes Her from here on out.
Yeah, it ends with Mark Walburg turning evidence against Caan and the whole corrupt system of subway contracts.
No, that's
in the
wrong
theatrical cut. Yeah.
The theatrical cut.
Yeah, and the director's cut, he gives himself up, but is instead made into a hero, and they blame it on, presumably, the Joaquin Phoenix character, Willie Gutierrez, to take the fall because he is just accidentally kind of
killed,
manslaughtered
Charlize
Theron's Erica Soltz,
which is very close to Eric Stoltz, which was a little confusing.
Very confusing, yeah.
Like, why would you name her that?
And to add to confusion for no good reason, but maybe we'll talk about it, Caan is a stepfather to the Charlize Theron, Erica Soltz. And she also has a younger brother.
Who doesn't have much to do except the very end of the theatrical cut anyway. And then there's a whole mid-sequence where you're thinking, okay, Wahlberg's on the run, but every time you see him, he's just like at his mom's house or sitting on the stairs in the apartment building. Where are the cops? He literally put a cop in a coma. This is getting to reactions.
But, a little bit. So I guess if you have your gray bingo card, I guess you gray out instead of a blackout. You cover all the spaces. You do have a mom who's sick. I don't think get too deep into it, but like the
cancer.
other two films. Oh, did they explicitly say that she has brain cancer or something?
I don't know what the cancer is, but I think they just refer to it as the cancer. That might be in the theatrical cut. I don't know.
I don't think there's that much that's different between the two as far as the cuts. They mentioned some type of she's ill of something, and it just gets worse whenever the SWAT team breaks in looking for her son, who's on the lam.
Yeah.
But also on your bingo card, Chinese takeout.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that on your bingo card, go ahead and block that out. Oh, and you have Domenick Lombardozzi. I can't ever say his last name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Herc.
I'm sorry, Herc.
Herc.
You're always going to be Herc to me, even if you're starring with James Caan again in 2013's Blood Ties, which I watched for this podcast because it was written by Gray.
I didn't know Caan was in that one.
Yep. He plays an old man and it actually does a great job playing an old man. And I'm not like, that might seem like a slight because he is aged, but no, he does a great, like, he is completely unconish. Like he's, like typically, when I see a James Caan film, I know kind of the character that he's going to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
And the best instance of that might be Thief.
Yeah.
But no, he plays somebody who's fairly enfeebled in Blood Ties. But we're not talking about Blood Ties. If you still don't have your bingo or your gray out, boobs, we get to see tits. And then you also get a guilty youth released from custody and charged. Who changes because of his I'm sorry. That's a long one. I should give it the respect that it deserves. A guilty youth released from custody and charges by a family member's connections.
Very good.
If you have that, you go ahead and cover that space on your Gray bingo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess Gray's dad worked for the Metro system in New York, and there was a scandal similar to this that he drew from for inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes place in New York. Did you say that for the bingo card?
Yeah, that's your free space, I think. I'm pretty sure Ad Astra somehow is in New York as well. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah.
We didn't talk anything about the filmography or filmography. We didn't talk about the cinematographer, the lenser.
Mm-hmm.
This would be like the year after Dude shot The Game.
It's beautifully shot, this film. Not to get your reactions.
It does have some of that green from the like 8mm David Fincher-ish green that I wasn't too stoked about.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Gray and Harry Savides,
Mm-hmm.
Harris Savides, yeah.
I'm sorry, Harris Savides went to the Met, and that's where I sent you some of the images from Georges de la Tour, his paintings, and that's what they wanted to look like. They wanted very chiaroscuro, very dark and light.
Yeah. Savides is notable not only for being the cinematographer for Zodiac, but between his work with Gus Van Sant on Jerry and Elephant and Last Days, and then his work with Sofia Coppola on Somewhere and The Bling Ring, he's sort of credited as bringing slow cinema to American indie film. He was very influential in Gus Van Sant and Sofia Coppola's decision-making processes on those films, as far as really long takes, not emphasizing the soundtrack or score too much, and just kind of letting scenes unfold at a slow and natural pace. So he's well respected and dead.
Well,
that was
if you're dropping some knowledge, let me drop this. For our religious homeschool listeners, a yard is 0.18 rods, or 0.4921259842519.7 cubits.
Wow.
Dinosaurs were 0 yards tall because they didn't exist. And you want to skip our next fact when it comes on because it's going to talk about nautical miles, because that, again, is nonsense because the earth is flat.
As somebody who was homeschooled in a very religious environment, I respect that for your preface to those facts. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have reactions yet?
I think we're getting close.
Yes.
How about to kick off reactions, I will give you some intentionality. So I know that Ryan doesn't like the idea of an auteur or a person behind the film or a creative person behind the film.
A singular creative person, that's correct.
I would like to give a sense of what he was going for by just reading a quick passage. So in The Yards, my ambition was a little different. I was trying to tackle a couple of different things. I'm sorry, Ken, would you put a New York accent onto this? Like a filter on my voice as I'm doing this?
Run it through the AI, Ken.
You could just send it to me, and I'll read it with a New York accent.
Let's get some sloppy queens going here.
One of which was to show how corruption and violence are the central organizing principles of society. I was also anxious to show a kind of ersatz family, one that had tried to reconstruct itself and was held together partly by class envy, and then is ultimately destroyed by corruption. So
Makes sense.
That's what he's trying for.
Also, like a low rent version of The Godfather.
Yes.
That's not his quote. That's not his quote, by the way. He doesn't say, I'm trying for a low rent version of The Godfather. Here's another thing that I get. This is something that I hear. I was explaining this to my partner last night over date night, like what Gray sets out for potentially. And I'm curious on this, because this is also part of that Mark Maron interview I listened to. He's very class conscious. And he's like, we don't really talk about that in the States. We don't think about it. It's not like other places, but class is something that definitely influences who we are as people. And so he mentions during this interview, the Harper's Index recently had a figure which said that the average family of four depicted on television in 1955, adjusted for inflation, earned about $60,000 a year, while the average family of four depicted on television this year, which would have been in the mid-teens, this year earned around $280,000. So selling you the lie, because it's all about advertisement. The richer they can make the family seem, the more palatable they think it will be for the public.
I love that so much.
Comrade Gray.
I am a huge fan of that part of his toolbox and his interviews, and a lot of the themes through his movies. Whether it's successful or not, we'll get through, I guess, since we're halfway through. But yeah, I do love that about him. He has a lot of the same obsessions that I have come to as well, as far as that goes, in the representation of class in American TV. I've had the same thought many times the last 10 years of how crazy it is that there's almost no representation of people, how they actually live. No one lives in a house like the houses that I see, that I'm around, that I live in. There's nobody on TV unless it's shown as something they have to aspire to get away from.
An interesting historical fact that provides some context. When the MPAA was formed as an attempt to self-regulate violence and lewdness in films after Congress threatened to censor them, when the newly appointed head of the MPAA testified in Congress saying that Hollywood could regulate itself, he said that one reason why was that Hollywood was the greatest exporter of American capitalism and goods and services. So people went to the Hollywood movie, they saw, Fred Astaire driving a Cadillac, and that made people in far-flung parts of the world think like, oh, I also want a Cadillac. And as Thomas said, and as you're echoing, Ken, for decades, that point of view didn't make it to television. But then in the 80s, and particularly in the 90s, it really hit hard with shows like Friends. The Cosby Show, at least they had occupations that explained their wealth, but it just became, that's when TV really started to separate in a class function from the rest of society.
Well, the set for the Cosby Show, the house wasn't a McMansion.
Right.
It looked like a nicer version of the All in the Family set.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like TV in the 70s and 80s, I remember Alice, based on the Scorsese movie. Like, she was a hardworking waitress who lived in a motel room with her son. There were all these shows, and it wasn't anything negative. It wasn't poverty porn. It was just showing how people actually live on a day-to-day basis. And you're right. In popular culture, it's all been erased.
Yeah.
So I'm glad Gray is out there talking about this stuff and infusing his films with some of those concerns and themes.
Yeah, he said he wanted to call it a clash between the Archie Bunker type of New York and a New York of small-time rich guys for his film.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that more than the finished product.
Yeah. Okay. So are we at reactions? Because I think we could call reactions now the Gray poop on.
Who wants to go first? Well, Ryan, I want to hear yours because you have a longer history with this movie.
Yeah.
Mine's 2 days. Yours is almost 26 years, right?
Yeah. So let's see. When I first saw this back in the year 2000, I thought it was pretty middling. The pace bothered me, and in part that might be because, like I said, I saw it in the middle of the night. But I didn't really get the praise for Gray or the cast or anything like that. Seeing it now, 26 years later, I like this movie. In fact, I really liked it. I thought it was well acted, well shot. I like how subtle a lot of the stuff was, and in particular, in the last couple of years, I've watched a lot of 30s, 40s, and 50s noirs. Noir. And this movie really has that kind of feel to it. There are movies like Crime Wave or Each Dawn I Die, where it is a noir, but there's a heavy melodramatic influence and a main character torn between both sides of the law and a wealthy family and a poor family, that sort of thing. So I really liked that it was a callback to that stuff. And while the movie, knowing how the director's cut is different, I would certainly say that is a better ending. But with those classic noirs, you always had to end it on a morally high note. You could never side with the baddie, even if the baddie was the main character of your film at that time. So the fact that it ends in a moral cleansing for Walburg fit with that old-timey feel. So it did not bother me that much.
Yeah, definitely not earned, considering they pushed the Dexter cop onto Joaquin Phoenix's character.
Yeah.
Well, who's like a social climber, right? He's like a guy from the other side of the tracks, and he's dating Charlize. And yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about him a little bit. Is he supposed to have dyed hair? I'm sorry. Like, does that make sense? Like, we know Joaquin Phoenix dyed his hair for this because it's apparent if you look at the screen with your eyeballs. Is he supposed to have dyed hair, or is he supposed to be Hispanic or Latino?
Yes,
I think he's supposed to be Latino.
Mm-hmm.
He's also hotter in this movie than I never have thought of him as an attractive man. Normally he plays such creeps and stuff, but he's really got like almost an Elvis thing going on in this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure what happened was whenever Gray was writing it and putting it into contracts, whenever they have the wire conversation, like they're in the car, it's the first time that the Phoenix character is taking the Walburg character out to see how the grift is done. And Joaquin Phoenix leaves to go to the car, and they both strip nude, and you get a little man butt.
Yeah.
Make sure he's not wearing a wire. I'm pretty sure this is speculation, but Gray wrote that because whenever Mark Walburg was going to be in that character. So we get to see Mark Walburg, Calvin Klein model, get a little something extra there.
Yeah. Mark Walburg was very cut at this time.
He still is.
Yeah.
A little more medicinal help these days, but yeah, he's still cut.
So, I mean, we'll get to our reactions, Ken, but I just wanted to, I guess, understand a little bit. So that's the reason that people are speaking Spanish to him in the film. And because a part of this film is everybody's chiseling for their cut, including the minorities. Which is an interesting... If he's the baddie who kills people, and he's the baddie of the corruption, and like he's being like the other Caan is being screwed over by minorities, is what this film is at some level, right?
Yes, but my impression, and I, now that you point this out, Thomas, I think Gray could have certainly hit this harder in the film. It's probably too subtle. But Joaquin is essentially trying to pass, right? He's trying to pass as white a little bit. He's involved with Charlize. He's going to marry into this more well-established white family. So I think the tension with him being wooed by the Latino contractors is that they even say to him at some point, like, you belong with your own, something like that. So he's trying to disassociate from his Latin roots and join white upper middle class society at the same time as there's this pull from the other direction of help stay with your own kind and help them prosper.
Yeah, I agree that that's there, and it really maybe isn't enough. It's maybe too subtle. But the guy who plays the guy his own age with the Hispanic contractor, what an amazing face that guy has.
Yeah, and a great performance too.
Yeah, great performance. Yeah, he just pops.
So when there's conversation, because he proposes to the Charlize Theron character, right? And then there's conversation being held by the sisters, by Dunaway and Burstyn.
Mm-hmm.
It's because he's a criminal, or is it because he's not white?
I think that's the subtlety Ryan and I are just referring to. I think that they could have played into that a little more, or it could have been a little more clearer, because you kind of have to work for it to see those inferences.
Yeah,
but, I mean, either way, like I think it's a bit of an out, because he is a criminal, and they all kind of know that, but no one asks, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it's plausible deniability, because I don't think any of them realize that James Caan is a criminal. And Joaquin's working for Caan. Everybody in the family knows that.
Well, James Caan doesn't even think he's a criminal. I mean, that's I think,
it's just how the game's played.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty well written character, and part of my initial disappointment was him not being a clear bad guy. Yeah, I wanted it to be a little more clear, but then as the movie goes on, it's more interesting that obviously every character should be written from a point of view where they don't see themselves as the bad guy. And I think one of the things that Gray has shown through the 4 films I've watched so far is he writes really good roles for really great actors that really great actors want to play. How else does he get the cast here?
Right.
Well, I have a question for you on that. But before I get there, if you're listening at homeschool, go ahead and skip ahead 30 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to put you on mute.
Okay, yeah. On mute. But just take your headphones off for a moment. Okay, so a nautical mile is 2,225.37 yards, right? It's named thanks to the naughty British Vice Admiral Calvin Quinton Cornsblower, explorer, naval strategist, pioneering foot fetishist, known as Naughty Cal to his friends, lovers, and close allies, who would standardize the unit of measure we call the nautical mile to account for what we know as the planet's curvature and what he simply called Mother Earth's arch. Legend has it that from his particular kink for feet, Naughty Cal could fit his both of his Chinese concubines' bound feet in his mouth. After the naval battle of Retafism during the first Opium Wars, where a merchant ship carrying then the novel prototypes of Stiletto Hills was sunk, Naughty Cal was never the same again. Reports have him late in life in a Thai spa, passing as one of the Gararufa, the doctorfish, small toothless carp that nibble away the dead skin for nutrition, offering a fish pedicure or ichthyotherapy popular in spas for exfoliating the skin. And so now you know a little bit more about the nautical mile.
And welcome to new listener and hopeful patron, Quentin Tarantino.
Okay, so Ken, the question I wanted to ask you was, does any character in the movie that you could think of not have a monologue? I guess it's almost a double negative. Does every of those major 6 characters have a monologue for apologizing? Or am I misremembering? Because it seems like everybody gets their Oscar moment to apologize.
Yes, and I think one of the differences between this and Armageddon Time, which we covered last week, is Gray toning that down a little bit in the modern era. But this is obviously, these are meaty parts with a lot of conflict written for. I mean, the 70s actors he gets are great, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he and Reeves, obviously they're not the same writers and directors they are today, and you can see a lot of growth, particularly between this film and Ad Astra, as a director and a writer. Yeah, he gets a lot subtler, but I think it's a lot clearer as he goes on. between this movie and the next movie.
Yeah, it seemed whenever you have, I mean, Burstyn, I love, right? I love watching her on screen. I think she's an amazing actress. She doesn't need to apologize to Mark Wahlberg's character on film for the movie to progress. And so there's just a lot of, I guess it's probably my same issue as our first episode with Edward Furlong and why am I blanking on Tim? It's Tim
Roth.
Robbins?
Tim Roth. Yeah.
Tim Roth.
Little Odessa.
Little Odessa.
Tim Robbins is like 3 feet taller than Tim.
It feels like two different genres kind of mashed together, or it's the genre film with all this extra paprika on it. And I just, it's not, I think what I would like is maybe, as you said, Ken, something a little cleaner, a little bit more down the line.
Fascinating.
I mean, if we're talking about Little Odessa, I think this is a better film on so many levels than Little Odessa. But the reason Little Odessa is I prefer it to this movie, I think, is because Eddie Furlong is so much the heart of that movie, and the tragedy of his character is what I keep coming back to. And there's really nothing in the yards that I glom onto the same way.
I know you're probably not as big of a Mark Walburg fan as I am, and he's like you're probably only your second or third favorite Parker. But given whatever you might say about, I like him in Fear. I like him generally.
I like early Walburg. I think he's great here.
And I think good, because I think he has a great mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever you say about his acting, he gives great mugshot, and he has this amazing ability to. I realized this like watching the funeral scene again. To see the comparison between the two cuts. But he has this amazing ability to be tender.
Yeah.
And then to be able to tell somebody as James Caan, and that James Caan's talking to him, to go fuck themselves just with his eyes.
Yeah.
Like he has like a kind of like a rage behind him, but it's not like the rage that you'll see like in Fear when he's just going buck crazy.
Yeah.
And just that ability to have those two different moments right next to each other in the film really makes up for potentially him just not there is also the doofus version of Mark Walburg like in Pain and Gain and other pieces, which is great comedically, and you don't get a lot of that in this film, which is great. I think this is a pretty strong performance by him.
I think he plays all those notes very subtly. He seems like a genial, he's obviously not mentally disabled, but there's almost a Lenny from Of Mice and Men feel to him, you know?
Well, one of the things I was missing from Armageddon Time, and I think both of the pairings, Little Odessa and Armageddon Time, was both characters are supposed to be kind of dumb.
Right.
By the narrative, by the dialogue, right? And they don't really prove that. Not Eddie Furlong, but Tim Roth in Little Odessa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that in those episodes, I comment like, wouldn't that be better if that was shown a little bit more? And like you say, Mark Walburg isn't showing dumb, but there is a limited capacity that the character might be at, like a lid that he's not going to go beyond. But he does do. He's not doing any like crazy MacGyver stuff, but he's able to shoot somebody through a wall. He's able to do things that I think most competent people are able to do, and that just kind of goes along with that.
I'm glad you brought up the wall, the guy going into, because everybody knows he's staying with his mom except for the cops, even though he put a cop in the hospital with a coma. And then Joaquin Phoenix's henchman is trying to get in to get him. The door is locked, so he knows he's going to go to the roof. So he gets his mom out of there and then goes and waits for him. And it's a really good scene. The sound design, so great. And then he kind of shoots him, and then the guy just kind of gets winged and he's okay. I think that's part of my problem with the movie, is that it sets up these kind of pulpy scenarios, but then it kind of wimps out, because it's kind of it becomes a nothing burger to the narrative, really. Nobody really gets in trouble for it. The guy just, has a bloody ear. And as we've seen with our president, it heals 100%. And it keeps bringing up stuff like that, like him in hiding and him sneaking up on people. And you think, okay, well, here we go. We're going to get into the the noirish part of this, while we have this great backdrop of the graft of the subway repair business. And, if we get a bit of a potboiler here, not that we need all that stuff. And I think next week when we talk about Ad Astra, that has some of the stuff, not a one-to-one, but the kind of feel that I want to go along with the somber parts of the story, like The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Godfather has all those great kills, right? It's awesome.
Yeah.
Even though at its core, it's really it's a story about family. And I think I kept waiting for that part of James Gray to pop up. And maybe this is too early in his filmography. Feels like with Ad Astra, maybe it's baked in a little more at the front end. I don't know.
I'm not saying it works, but I think his intent with all of this is what you were saying about whether James Caan considers himself a criminal. Like, these are all, besides Joaquin Phoenix, all these characters are operating in kind of a morally gray space, and Gray wants to keep them there, so nobody does anything too bad,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix kills that night watchman.
He's the one villain in the piece. I think he's the one character you can truly say, like, he knows when he's sabotaging the trains that he's breaking the law and that he's going too far. These sorts of things.
Morally gray, space. That's our next episode. I have a kind of 1-2 punch here of a comment. So my jab is this feels a little bit like a Lifetime movie, in that you have a cousin death, and like whenever she falls off the banister, and then the cops do the right thing in it, versus like crime and corruption. And maybe that's a little bit what you're talking about, Ken. And so my question to that was like, what if Leo, the Mark Walburg character, killed the dude through the wall? Or his cousin, being Charlize Theron, kills Willie, being Joaquin Phoenix, instead, like knocks him over the banister. Because either of them could have gone over that, right? That's a whole different movie than what we get here. It like breaks that Lifetime movie. Yeah, the two lanes. I feel like he's driving at the same time.
Well, there's also that great fight sequence between Phoenix and Walburg. One of the great fight sequences.
Okay, agreed.
But nothing really comes of it. I mean, you don't see Theron and Walburg like have a dangerous kiss. Cut to commercial. Or it doesn't really push anything forward.
Well, it does. It's just a really good. Theron,
it's just a great scene.
Charlize Theron gets hit prior to that, and her black eye is there whenever she kind of like repents and asks her dad for being her stepdad, Caan, for help.
But Walburg doesn't need to be there for that.
True, but that fight scene it's not as good as, but it has notes of, it's like a knockoff, not a knockoff, but it's like, it gave me some of the feels that I got for John Carpenter's, you want to finish the statement?
Oh, They Live.
Yeah, that fight scene.
Yeah.
And apparently they had a choreographer for it, and they were like, no, we're not going to use it. And instead, Gray, though he wanted him to use it, set up 3 cameras, and they had some pads on them. Walburg and Phoenix had pads on them, knee pads and some elbow pads and some other things. But then Walburg was like, just basically like, hey, come at me. And Walburg held back enough so he wouldn't hurt Phoenix, according to Walburg.
Of course. And Phoenix probably held back to not hurt Walburg, according to Phoenix,
know, man.
Right?
I don't think so. I think Walburg could fuck somebody up if he wanted to, even today.
He did, in fact. He went to jail for it.
Yeah. And so I think that scene is them like, going at it, being 2 actors who that's what they wanted to do for the realism. Okay, so that said,
they're very young.
Here's the second part of that. So the Lifetime movie versus a crime movie, and we're driving 2 different lanes. This is one of the few times I've watched a film and I thought this would be better as an HBO film, something with a lower budget and lower production value, because then it would let me see the state, like these performances more like stage performances, and it gives me more leeway for the drama. And anytime that there's like a good shot, like the end of this movie is amazing with the dollies and the fades, then I'm like more impressed by it. But because it's such a good looking movie, it raises my expectations for it to be more of what I would call a movie or a film.
So, I mean, a couple things, and I recognize that you, Thomas, and most people do not have this exposure to classic noirs, but it's not that there's anything wrong with that. But this really is closer to what crime films used to be. Like, obviously, over the years, they've separated and we get a lot more just gritty, straightforward crime and violence in them. But the melodramatic aspect was kind of a central role to a lot of the early noirs and crime films. And then for me, that fight, isn't that fight like the permanent breaking of Walburg and Phoenix's relationship? Like that's the moment where they sever. I also think it's a callback to The Godfather when Sonny beats up his sister's abusive husband. That's all.
Well, I mean, those early noirs were all like 88 minutes long, too.
No, that's true.
So they got a lot more in a lot less time.
And they were shot on black and white. And I think that might even go towards my, I don't know, HBO movie comment, where I think I could appreciate a film more for like having apologetic monologues or having, I guess, higher drama if it doesn't look at if the production's lower.
That is a really good point. I think on my Letterboxd review, follow me on Letterboxd, Ken Coral. Follow Ryan for that matter. Ryan handle is Big Schlong 69.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said the whole thing feels like something left on the stovetop on simmer, and it just never gets any hotter than that. And if it were an HBO movie, I think you're exactly right. Nail on the head. Well done. I still like it. I like. I'm fascinated by Harvey Weinstein's Harvey Scissorhands nickname for having a reputation for cutting movies that he produced, even though he's supposedly a director-friendly producer. And the fact that Gray was eventually able to get his director's cut out there.
Yeah. Here's a statement that he made, and I think this is interesting in context of next film, so I'll bring it up now. But he said it like about this film and what he wanted graded, not Weinstein. Gray said, "I wanted to make a picture about the fact that our ability to choose our destiny is bogus."
Yeah, that seems like an evergreen theme for him.
I love it.
I love that statement as well. It seems like a very much like a Greek tragedy. I don't know if that is this film.
No, but it I think, you know, his ambition, thematic ambition, is certainly there. I think the success of this movie falls short, but it's hard not to be impressed with that level of ambition, thematically anyway.
Okay, before my last question here, I just have to establish Green Hectares was too hard to rhyme, so the powerful television theme songwriters guild got together and the Acre was created. Spike Lee originally wanted to be seen as more of an American entrepreneur, but then had to cave to pressures of the imperial system because of it. Would consequently update the name of his production company from a mule and 16.2 hectares to what it is today, 40 acres and a mule. So thank you, imperial system, for that.
Possible future subject for the podcast, Spike Lee.
Yeah. Here's my question. So and the end of this movie, the very end of this movie, where the credits, is beautiful. I wish that was a screensaver I could have on my television.
This is the director's cut, because it is not the theatrical cut. I looked it up, and I was like, "Wow, that looks pretty cool."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, so it must be the director's cut.
Let us know.
Oh, so every scene that you've seen, all the sets, you go same direction with a dolly across them, and then you dissolve into the next set of scenes.
That sounds great.
Next scene. And it's done just very slowly, beautifully. It's with the same lighting. It might have been for, I don't know, color correction or something. They might have had like more than one purpose, but it just looks great. But prior to that, you have Mark Walburg on screen. And I guess the question I don't think you want, this is what I was asking myself at the very end. It cuts from him in the at the funeral. in this beautiful shot of Dunaway reaching over to him, and the hands and lighting is just amazing.
Yeah.
And him back on a train is how we've opened the film. And we just look at his face for a while, kind of with the same expression that he had prior. Things aren't going well. Not too sure what's going on behind the eyes there. But the shot lingers long enough that I start to wonder, outside of a bowl cut or like a Prince Valiant, can guys have bangs?
I'm rocking some bangs right now, and I think I look fine.
Okay.
But it's a good question. The bowl cut certainly does the character good, but not the actor,
Yeah. Okay. I might get bangs. I don't know. It's a new year.
I think we're wrapping up. I just want to call out, because it's going to be important specifically to the Ad Astra conversation, that in addition to the recreation of the street fight from The Godfather, James Caan is kind of doing like a low rent Brando in this, where he's very mumbly, very quiet. He's not the typical loud crime boss. He talks in almost a whisper most of the time. And his home is a Queens mansion, a lot like.
When you say Queens, you mean the location?
Yes, Queens. Okay. Queens in New York, a Queensboro mansion similar to what they live in The Godfather. So I think throughout the films we've seen so far, there's a heavy Coppola influence and a lot of homages and stuff going on.
That should be added to the bingo card for next week.
Yeah.
Coppola reference, either literal or thematic or narratively. Are you adding it right now, Thomas? Is that why you're quiet?
Oh, I'm just doing a little bit more research on measurements. Not very good, but it is that how the Europeans have meter, and meter is also responsible for syllabic rhythms in poetry, like iambic pentameter. Yards also has another meaning than just distance. And it is what's responsible for the continuation of the suburban American family, as fathers will contemplate their yards and the associated yard work and decide to breed sons and occasionally daughters to have them mow and edge said yard for the pittance of an allowance. So if it wasn't for yards, we might not have suburbs.
Wow.
Wow.
Shout out to the British post-punk band Yard Act, which has nothing to do with this movie, but it's in the name. I was playing it earlier.
Yeah. I the Funky Bunch, if you're still out there, we could use a new theme song, maybe one with Ryan.
Yeah, one that specifically is not banned in parts of Russia and the Ukraine. Those guys are hungry for some James Gray content.
I will happily make a theme song in collab with Marky Mark for Wahlburgers.
Are we wrapping up this the yards?
Yes, but I don't think we actually got clear reactions from you guys. So, Ken, you thought that this was mediocre, and Thomas, you didn't like it.
I liked it. I liked it. I liked it while I was watching it. I did pause a lot, and sometimes I just didn't pause. I went up and got a snack, but I just wish it was more. It had some more. I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound LCD, but I wanted something like, a little Godfather, like the guy getting shot in the glasses and all the crazy stuff that happens in The Godfather that really makes the family stuff feel more important. And I never really got that. It never really elevated to that point for me, but I still like it. It's great performances. Great seeing the young people young and seeing Caan, Burstyn, and Dunaway. Great fun.
I have a note here that says shadows like the end of Heat. Leo won't snitch, sees gun, runs, Erica watching. There's a I can think a scene where there's that's what it is. What Leo's going to meet with the Mark Walburg character is going to meet with the Caan character, and the Caan character has gone there to kill him. And by the train passing, you get the shadows a little bit like the runway scene at the end of Heat. And I thought that was well done. As well as I love a scene where you have contractors, because I used to do some of that, a site walk. And so everybody goes and you see the thing and you're able to take pictures of it and then you bid on it later, right? But it's all the contractors there, and you get that shoe leather, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so I appreciate that. Ultimately, I'd say this is of the ones I've watched in my top 4 Gray movies.
Mine too.
Yeah,
solidly in the top 4.
Yeah.
This went from a movie that, on my first reaction, Ken, was very similar to what you've expressed and what you wrote on Letterboxd, but this one launched up. This might be my favorite Gray that I've seen so far, including ones we haven't covered on the podcast yet. I don't know.
Wow.
I really liked this one, and I was surprised.
Sounds like if you want to watch this film and enjoy it, you need to recalibrate and watch a bunch of shitty 40s and 50s films.
Uh-huh.
And
not
like,
comparison.
What?
Not shitty.
What? It's a speaky and in color? And then, yeah, it'd be a great film for you.
I mean, maybe this is just my hair turning silver, but
going gray?
Yes. Maybe it's the touch of gray, but I increasingly find that the lack of violence and sexuality in old movies allows for much deeper character work. Much less reliant on that kind of gritty spectacle. And I think there are so many contemporary films that I absolutely adore, and I think we're in a magical time for cinema overall, but very rarely is that sort of deep character work recaptured in even the best of modern movies.
Yeah, I think one thing I made a note of about this, thinking of older movies and also Little Odessa, is I don't feel like Gray is ever making a neo-noir or aping a style that was made in the 1950s. I think in his mind, he is making a contemporary movie that is within the same ballpark as those movies may have been. I think he wants to be elevated a bit like the 70s movies, but I never feel like he is purposely putting on airs trying to make a neo-noir. He's just making a crime melodrama that's contemporary, and I appreciate about them. There's not a lot of flash to remind you that wink, wink, it's all a movie.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of why he's never been successful.
Agreed.
Is that, and we talked about this, I think, with Little Odessa and stuff some, but in the 70s, like, people were just going to the movies all the time. So you could make something like The Friends of Eddie Coyle, and maybe it wasn't going to capture the nation's heart, but a lot of people would go on a Wednesday afternoon and see that. And Gray would be...
Don Draper.
Yeah, exactly. I think Gray would be much more well-respected and well known if we were in that era, you know.
Yeah, well, you'd probably have to make 2 films a year versus one every 5 years.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, when you're a writer and director, man, there's a lot of work into getting financing. But in about 15 or 16 years, somebody will give them $100 million to make a science fiction movie with Brad Pitt, which we'll be talking about next week.
All right. Well, let's hurry up and get to it.
All right. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, and I'm going to sleep for a week, and then I'm going to wake up and we're going to record that episode. Hope I don't miss anything in the news.
All right. Sweet dreams, my prince.
I should probably stop recording shit.
Together, that makes us flash gorgeous.
Flash gorgeous.
I'm not talking at you. I'm talking to you.
Flash gorgeous.
I don't want to hear about you. I want to hear from you.
It's 10-4.
10-4, buddies. Destroy. Kill all hippies.
I don't hate it. I just don't know why you're straight from the formula.
You bastards. In case you don't know it, Bob, I'm an artist. And I must reflect that in my rhyme.
year 2000.